tonight we welcome Courtney Victoria, a landscape and outdoor photographer based in the southwest of England. Her talents encompass writing, painting, theatre design, and storytelling through her hugely popular YouTube channel. Now, whilst being at university in Aberystwyth, she studied scenography, theatre design and fine art, which led her into her journey into photography. And following a period of, I like this euphemistically, experimentation, she eventually discovered a passion for landscape photography whilst living and working in South Korea. Then in 2020, the pandemic hit. She decided to move back to the UK, continue her journey in landscape photography, but focusing on a connection with wild landscapes of Britain. I'm halfway through. Don't worry, it gets better. Courtney focuses primarily on finding local inspiration and more recently has visited locations many of us long to visit, such as Iceland and Antarctica. And she captured inspirational images as well as noticing those quieter landscapes, as well as appreciating the bigger vistas. She's known for her imaginative take on smaller scenes. She sees characters in her subjects, taking her viewers on a journey to understand her creative vision, and she brings it to life. She inspires, she continually develops her own skills, is unafraid to show vulnerability, and dare I say it, the odd failure too. Oh, and she dances. So without further ado, Courtney, welcome to the group.
Thank you very much.
Sorry about that. There we are.
What an introduction that was, by the way.
Well,
Yeah,
I
well
typed
done.
it.
That was, yeah, well said.
Well done, Louise.
Okay, so I'm just going to get started off. That's okay, and everyone else can chip in. So I've got a kind of an opener question. Talk us through your philosophy and your approach to your photography.
My approach, I keep it very simple. Don't like to overcomplicate things. Number one goal is to have fun. And I like to try and view the world with curiosity, almost like a child would. You know, children are very curious about everything. Look at that, look at this. You know, they see characters and things. I'm also an avid fantasy book and movie lover. And in fantasy genres and fantasy worlds, everything is magical. You know, a bit of wood can be magical in some way. So I like to try and find the uniqueness and extraordinary in ordinary things or ordinary places. So I do tend to, as you said, sort of spot characters and things in, ferns, trees, in small, fungi, and I just have fun with it. And I just love to sit and imagine, how this could be in a book or a movie, and I just have fun with it. That's the goal, just to enjoy, to play around with nature and just see what comes of it, really.
And I think we're going to see that actually in some of the 8 images that you shared with us. They're very much a kind of covering your full genre, so to speak. So that was yes, I'm very much looking forward to it, but not just yet. This question is a little bit of a kind of, I suppose, double-edged sword to a certain extent. Do you consider yourself first and foremost a photographer or a YouTuber?
I would like to consider myself a photographer first, but I would say at the moment I do full-time YouTube. That is essentially my job. I'm only just going into workshops and teaching photography, so I would have to admit that I am currently being a YouTuber first, but would like to say photographers. And there's nothing wrong with being a YouTuber. I think it's got a bit of a stigma against it, really. But the photography always came first. I developed that passion for photography before I got into video, which is why I think I'd like to say that I am a photographer first. But the two really go hand in hand together for me now. The YouTube, although in a way it restricts how many photos I take on location because the filming process is, it takes such a long time, it gets me out a lot and it encourages me to get out as often as I can and to get out locally. So yeah, the two of them they just fit really well together for me at the moment.
And your routine's weekly, isn't it? It's the pressure on that is to get that out must be quite considerable.
Yes, I don't upload weekly at the moment.
Ah.
No, not twice a month is my goal. Because yes, I do not want that pressure of having to upload weekly. I think that's a lot of work, and that's a lot of stress in trying to film and edit a story that flows well and that people will enjoy and that I'm happy with as well, but also to find fairly good images that will fit in with that. And that's a pressure that I'm not willing to put on myself.
No. And we've all of us have commented on how long it takes to edit videos at our level. So when you get to yours, I can.
It's a while, yes.
Gentlemen, you're all nodding sagely or looking like talk. But any questions from you at the floor at the moment?
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by some of your videos and I really want to know how much planning goes into creating the video before you even start, because the amount that you say, the amount of information that you give, and the way it just flows together, it looks like I'm not going to say it looks like it's constructed, but it seems to be such a really good natural flow, whereas as a YouTuber ourselves, we know it doesn't always work that way. So if it isn't planned, how many outtakes do you have?
Oh, I have loads of outtakes. I cannot talk on camera in one go without messing up, muddling up words or stuttering or too many outtakes. Some videos are partially scripted. If I want to speak about a specific topic, then I will write down notes and bullet points of things that I would like to say in what order. And that just makes sure that I can say what I need to say quickly, and I'm not going to ramble like I probably am now and repeat myself over and over again, because when I get talking, I can ramble on camera, especially when I'm alone on camera. So that way I can be really precise. We all do it probably. Yeah, that way I can be really precise and just get my point and my opinions across. It's difficult because you can't plan everything. You can't plan, to a point you can plan the weather, you can decide what day you go out depending on what the weather's doing. But nature is unpredictable and it can rain even though it's not due to rain. So you have to be flexible even if you do have a plan. And that's something I've had to learn. When I first started this, I would go in with a full plan because I'm a very structured person. And when things would go wrong, I'd get very frustrated, and there were loads of videos that never got completed because I just sort of abandoned them. Now I've learned to be flexible and just roll with it. So in terms of structuring how a video goes, especially those videos where there's no structure, there's no script, I'm just sort of vlogging, I guess. I storyboard as I go. Mm-hmm. So what I will do is I'll come up with an introduction in my head on location. I'll film that. I'll go find my first image. I will always take the photo before filming, so that's done. And then I will work backwards. I'll pack everything back up and then film the process of setting up and taking the photo and walking through the photo.
That was a secondary question.
Yes. And then I will go and take a second photo. I'll do the same thing. And once I've found a second photo, I will then storyboard in my head, okay, how am I getting from photo 1 to photo 2? How is that transition happening? And then I will film that. So I just piece it together bit by bit in my head, and I'm also sort of editing the video in my head as I go. So I tell myself, okay, I said this, so I need this bit of B-roll. I've gone over here, so I need to get from here, from A to B in the video to show that I've done that. So
that's quite interesting, because the first video I picked up of yours, you were teleporting around the woodlands.
Yes.
was that pre-planned, or was that on the go?
Something that I made up on the spot, yes. Sometimes those awkward walking shots that we do, really don't like them. Sometimes they're fine, but sometimes I feel like I just don't want to do that. So I try and come up with something that's a bit different. Maybe it's faster. Instead of 2 minutes of me walking around, you've got 15 seconds from, okay, here I am, and now here I am over here, and then it's done. I've got the point across that I have travelled and I have explored and found something else. So just trying to be creative and make things a bit fun, really.
Yeah.
I really like the concept of doing it that way around. I've never thought of getting the shot, then filling in the details backwards. And I think actually, in a way, that might take some of the pressure off and stop the utter drivel that comes out of my mouth.
I was going to ask, Courtney, does that mean you've got a decent photo in the bag before you start talking about it?
Yes, I've taken the photo, I've thought about it, and then because I've thought about it and taken it, I then know what I want to say about that photo, why I've chosen it, why I've composed it in that way. If there's been sort of a process of leading up to how I composed it, then I will backtrack and try and explain that as well. But yeah, I always get the photo first because a few times in the past I have not taken the photo first, and I've gone through, the filming can take a while. I've gone through the filming and then the weather shifts or something changes, and actually that scene doesn't look the same anymore. And what I've just said might not make sense. And so I've just wasted my time, essentially. So do it the other way around. Always get the photo first. Photo's there, and then I can just fill in.
I had heard that Thomas Heaton does that as well.
Possibly, yeah. It doesn't necessarily make sense when you say, it sounds like a lot of time wasting that you've set up, taken a photo, then you pack up, then you set up again. But it just ensures that you get the photo. The photo comes first, really. I'd rather get home after a day and have photographs and no video than video footage that I don't really know what to do with and no photographs.
Yeah, first and foremost. Yeah.
I was going to ask, have you ever got rid of a video just because the photos are that good, you wanted to be there just to capture that moment?
Yeah.
That's it.
And one of the things I remember your videos starting off quite like short videos, like 8 minutes, if I remember right, and you went on to like 15 minutes, and that was great because like you had so much entertainment in the short period of time, and that's what I think the hook. It was great. Or you just talking through what you were going through. You were just actually doing the story, telling people how you're capturing these images. You do a lot of stuff with regards to fungi, etc., and some beautiful images, as I mentioned in the email to you. Regards to the fungi, etc., do you ever actually look into just learning about fungi when you're taking these pictures, or is it just something that you just love enjoying taking pictures of, or do you have an interest in the woodland itself?
It started off as just enjoying taking photos of fungi, and I don't tend to do things by halves. And so I now have multiple books about fungi so I am slowly learning bit by bit, names, how they grow, where they grow, that sort of thing. I'm not confident in specifically naming when I find, same
here.
What it is, because somebody will call me out and say, that's not it.
I'm similar because I've started doing all that kind of things on. I've got these books on fungi, etc. The Collins book on fungi as well. So I know how difficult it is to actually try to pronounce fungi, and the sort of pronunciation of it is very difficult to do in itself. So yeah, without actually trying to spend too much time focusing on that, you want to really go on your camera and get these beautiful shots anyway. But yeah, I do have an interest in that too. So,
fantastic. It's once you start, you can't stop.
No, you can't.
It's addicting. It makes me so excited. Every time, I now sort of feel like I have a sixth sense for mushrooms.
Yeah.
I can just sort of sense when one's around. I'm like, there it is. No matter how big or small it is, I find it. And it brings me so much joy for some reason. And so it's fantastic. But
it's such a pleasure to actually going into Woodland Floor, and it's like, guys like yourself and Simon Booth who just capture Woodland Floor. I love that kind of photography as well. And well done on it as well. It's really nice.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And now that I've sort of got into fungi, I've discovered the world of slime moulds. They sound gross, but so fascinating.
They are stunning and
amazing.
Yeah. And I suppose in a way you're learning about the kind of fungi and kind of the life cycles of it. She says, pretending she knows. However, it is going to give you more of an indication of where to find stuff and what to start off with. So can we expect more slime molds from you in the future?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Yay.
Yes, I'm going full into that.
Yeah, Courtney, have you come across a lad called Alexis and his YouTube channel called Naturefold? But he knows all the Latin names off by heart. He's just unbelievable. Have you seen him? Looks like it.
I have. I very recently came across his channel. Yes. Incredible.
He's
Yeah. So much
very
knowledge.
he's incredibly knowledgeable, and his photographic style is amazing as well. He does the focus bracketing by hand, so he actually moves the camera fractionally. So he's taking lots and lots of pictures with a flash, and then builds it all up, focus stacks it later. It's just stunning.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm not a handheld photographer. I have the shakiest hands in the world, and the fact that you can do that absolutely blows my mind.
Things that we admire about other people. I'm now going to have to look that one up, Alistair, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, Naturefold is worth watching.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it too.
Nice. I'm just going to write that down. Okay, shall we have a look at the first couple of Courtney's images? Now, Courtney, we've got a new system going here, so we have a few people who'd like to ask questions, depending on which one comes up.
Okay.
So this is where we're going to cut it in. So Paul's going to look at Paul's this is Paul's frantic face.
Yeah.
He's not presenting tonight.
Yeah, I'm on the Edinburgh Patrol tonight.
Right.
I'm sure I've got a good, capable host anyway. So,
well,
right, where are we?
Say that. Are you there with them?
Yes, I just had to go for a few folders there.
Sorry, that's cough.
And we are going to. Actually, what I should have done. We are pausing this, by the way, so don't worry.
Don't worry, Courtney.
What I need to do is get a bit of cheese up.
Oh,
you got to try to get away from that. You're not getting away from it, Louise.
It's time for that part of the show on Landscape Lenscast Podcast, where we all take a look at the images for this week from present and past.
Yes, my friends, it's time for that part of the show here on Landscape Lenscast Podcast, where we all take a look at the images for this week from present and past. This week's images.
As you can tell, Courtney, we love that bit. We just.
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, we absolutely.
Everybody goes for their drink at that point in time.
I think that's great. It's not quite danceable. It's a bit
not quite. Yeah, I was going to say you could do a dance on it when your videos, but
one episode we should all sing it instead.
Yeah, we did kind of. I think it was. Yeah.
No. We need working cameras afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll do the music. The rest you can sing it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but we need to go to church choir and do that, I think, guys. Get better acoustics.
Right. In which case, Courtney, we love this image, but Alistair's got a specific question he'd like to ask you about it.
It's not so much a specific question, other than I love this type of photography, and I've been getting into it recently, or over the last few years, actually, in autumns, and I want to do an awful lot more about it. Did you have a light on that?
Yes. I had a reflector.
Reflector only, or light and reflector?
Reflector only. I just needed to bounce some light on the stems. That's where the shadow was.
So the light's going up the way. Okay.
Yes.
I just adore these, and a little group like that is just fantastic. Now I'm guessing they're probably only about 1 to 2 centimeters tall.
Yes, they were very, very small.
It's fun.
I was impressed that I didn't manage to stand on them. Right.
Yeah, these are what I'm trying to get hold of as well, to photograph. And what I found as well was when you're photographing these, what you don't notice is in amongst all that greenery, there's always going to be a little spider or something. And the majority of my little, I don't know if you call this macro or close-up photography, but I've generally got a spider in there somewhere. and I've decided I'm just going to make that my thing, and I have a spider in all my pictures. So I'm going to have to carry one around in a matchbox and drop them in.
So,
Yeah.
Courtney, is this a single image or focus stacked?
This is a focus stack, probably about 25 to 30 images, including the foreground and the background.
Crikey.
For that, yeah.
Nice.
That's more than I
It's
expected.
a lot of
Yeah.
Yes, it's surprising how many photos you can take in as your focus bracketing with subjects this small. I believe with this one I used a lens that had autofocus, so I set up, I've got a Nikon D850 and I can focus stack in the camera.
Oh,
So I
that's
set that up and it did it in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I've got the same.
It took I probably took about 35 photos. I always take a few extra. When I manually focus and focus bracket, I take way more because I want to make sure I cover the fungi from front to back and I don't miss any areas, and make sure I get that overlap between each photo.
Okay. So I've got a question about the D850 then, because Paul and I are both D850 owners as well. When you say it focus stacks in the camera, and I know it can focus bracket.
That's what I mean, focus bracket, yeah.
So you get focus bracket, so you still export all the images into a software, right? Okay, into the computer lens stack. Okay, for a moment I was thinking I'd missed out on something major with my camera.
No, I have this habit of saying focus stacking instead of focus bracketing. I'm always correcting myself.
You actually explained it very well in one of your videos. It's focus bracketing when you're taking the pictures, and it's focus stacking when you're stacking them. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the computer. Cool.
Yeah. What I like about this one, Courtney, is that fern in the background.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that just brings you straight down.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. It's like when you do with trees, you look to try and separate them trunks and stuff. And you've done that with these absolutely fantastically.
Yeah. No, I love this. This is one of my favorite fungi photos that I've taken. Purely because of that autumn feel in the background. I always feel in autumn that I struggle to capture the feel of autumn somehow. I always get to the end of autumn and think I really don't have a photo that I feel really captures that in a way that I'm happy with it. But this, I loved that you have those ferns in the background and how you've got the contrast from the vibrant green one and then the ones behind it that are turning. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a stunning image. It's just the depth of field of the image as well. I love. It's a beautiful depth of field to it. And as you say, you've taken how many stacks? Was that 20?
Between 25 and 35 images I probably took, and I would have taken a few out. I think I probably stacked it all the way back until that orange fern, and then decided to take a few out to leave that background bit out of focus.
Yeah, I was going to say that. That's how it works so much. The
It
depth
works well,
of it
doesn't
works
it?
so well.
It really does.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There.
So if you liked that one, you wait till you see this one. And this is one that Alistair has a keen question on too.
Yes, Courtney. I saw this image when it was given to us for the presentation, and I had a wee question about it. And I've actually had the answer given to me because your video with this came out about 2 hours ago before we did this recording. So for people watching, it's been out for a couple of weeks now. But the bokeh in the background, the swirling, it just looks like all the ferns are moving about in the wind and the bluebells are stationary. I was like, how did you do that? I'm going to pass it over to you, Courtney. You can tell our viewers, in case they haven't watched your video, what was happening in this image and what were you using?
I'd love to say that it was magic, but it's not. It's a lens. So I used a reflex or a mirror lens. I think they used to be called something else, cat lens, cat bokeh, I'm not sure. So a mirror lens is essentially sort of like I don't know if I'll explain it very well, like a compact telescope. So they're usually manual, they're usually fixed focal length. So this was 200 millimeter f5.6. They're very, very lightweight lenses, and they have circular mirrors inside. And especially in out of focus areas of a scene where there's a lot of light, contrasted light highlights, you get some very extreme, what they call donut shaped rings. in those areas. So in this scene here, that's what you see sort of in the background by those ferns, but the light wasn't extremely bright in contrast, it was quite soft.
Yeah.
So they're not as extreme and obvious as they can be. So it gives that dreamy, sort of ethereal and as if things are moving effect, which I think is, it's very interesting.
It certainly works for this image.
Yeah.
I'm still to be sold on the donut rings for bokeh as opposed to a circle. And this, not so sure, goes right back to about 1985, 86, when I really first started doing photography. And mirror lenses were available then. And it was like, oh, that'd be a fantastic thing to have, because it was the focus length that you had on it was phenomenal, but it was compact and light. But it was those donut rings, if you actually get proper bokeh in the background, that was interesting. But this one is really, really worked. I was fascinated by it and adore it.
For me, it's the wild garlic. The wild garlic
Yeah.
on the left-hand side in particular, because it's not as soft as the one sort of right at the bottom of the screen, but it draws your eye and leads you right up that stem to the bluebell.
Yeah.
I just that particular bit, I just think is smashing.
It's the way the fern in the background continues you through that picture.
Yeah, it's like all linked into one, isn't it, going all
Yeah.
through.
I think it's the motion. The motion is actually coming from the ferns in the background. It grabs me as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
That just makes you think what's going on.
It's really, really spectacular. Magical, as you said.
Yeah.
And shot envy on this one, ladies. Shot envy, big time. Lovely. Let's go to our next one. Now, on this is one that I remember you talking very specifically about the elephants that you saw. And I was wondering how much of the characters that you see do you attribute to your love of the fantasy? Or is it just something that is innate in you away from that and you see it all the time?
I think I see it all the time, to be honest. I really do immerse myself outside of photography in books and movies. I'm a big daydreamer as well. So when I'm not doing anything specific, I'm terrible for zoning out and just imagining all sorts of, fantasy hero wizard scenarios because I can. Sort of very, much of a child a lot of the time. I think I just spot these things, and I think I'm probably subconsciously looking for them as I go about my day-to-day life, to be honest. And some things come to me very quickly, like with this image. I spotted them and I sort of looked at them for a couple of seconds and I thought, oh, that's an elephant. And other times I might compose an image, sit there and sort of look at it, and then something might come to mind and I think, oh, actually this reminds me of this. So sometimes it's just an instant, that is, insert something strange here. Other times it comes a bit later.
Of course, the problem is once it's pointed out to you by the photographer, you can't unsee it.
Yes.
So every time I look at this, I see the elephant. Doug.
Very clearly an elephant, yes.
See, I'm feeling kind of vindicated here, Courtney, because I had Adam Gibbs on a week or so back. He got a picture up, and I said to them, that looks like meerkats.
No, she's been taken seriously.
I can certainly see the elephant in this. Yeah.
But no, it's a lovely shot, and again the echoing of the fern in the background is just, and it's so at this time of year things are so fresh and so hopeful, and I think that kind of comes across in this shot. Mm-hmm. Again, lots of photo stacking, I'm guessing.
No, this was one shot actually. As it was moving around in the wind quite a bit, so I knew that there was no focus bracketing involved.
I was going to ask.
So it's about f10, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, probably about f10, f11 to try and get as much. I mean, it didn't all have to be in focus. You don't have to focus bracket macro shots. It's a choice. And I focused on sort of the tip where it curls very slightly. I think you can only see that little curl if you zoom into it, really. But I wanted that specifically to be in focus, so that's what I focused for. and it gets most of the fern, I think, in focus. So it worked out well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's with it being the back of the fern as well. It adds more of a, I don't know,
Yeah.
more of something to it, doesn't it? A bit more contrasty.
Yeah.
I was going to ask a question. Do you
Very
spend
much
a lot
so.
of time getting that composition with the background? Because I always think the background is probably more important than the foreground. You know, how long would you spend just getting a composition like this? And any tips as well for a newbie macro photographer, let's say?
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
myself.
when it comes to macro photography, background is important. As a background can be incredibly distracting if there's something in there that sort of draws your eye away from the subject. So this is something, you know, that I had to learn to take into account, is what's going on in the background as well as what the subject is doing, and you know, that composition. So yeah, it was intentionally placed like this. They were moving about in the wind, so you know, it was just a case of trying to get it sort of in the right place. A good something that I think was recommended to me by another macro photographer and that I do is just sort of try and, it's difficult when you're working on an LCD screen, is to sort of squint at the screen, and sort of, if you can unfocus your eyes, and your eyes will automatically go to sort of an element that's distracting. And so if I do that and my eye goes to something in the background, then I know that there's something distracting in the background, and I might need to sort of shift my position, my angle, perspective to get it as, you know, because you want your eye to go specifically to the subject. So yeah, with macro photography, it's very awkward, especially if you're on a tripod and trying to get in low angles, trying to position yourself in the right spot and try and get a background that works well with the subject and isn't too distracting.
Yeah. It's very difficult with my macro. I've tried it a few times. I'm not great at. I just try just to persevere and just try to make sure I just get the right background just to get a good bokeh. But this is a lovely shot, and it's. I'm not a fan of too much green images, but this does work well in green. You know,
Of course.
dull down my green.
I think that's a common thing, that photographers don't tend to like green images.
Yeah.
Everyone starts complaining when it comes to summer, and I think I used to be that person. Now I love green images. I don't see what's wrong with it anymore. I think it's fun. I absolutely love that everything's gone green again.
Yeah.
The issue with green is it's not the green itself, it's that the leaves tend to make it busy.
Yeah, if it's a kind of
Yeah, and capturing a monochromatic scene, whether it's green or any colour, it's quite tricky. I'm only saying that because my next video is on photographing green, and it's a horror when you've got an entire video based on it, and it's a very sunny day. So nice. Okay, so I'm just going to break slightly from the images at the moment. Courtney, I may have mentioned this to you beforehand, but you did a fascinating video which looked at the concept of loneliness versus solitude, and the healing effects and the centering effects that solitude can have, and kind of discussed a bit of philosophy in that. But in that, you talked about your unwillingness to partake in a toxic online culture. Now, at the time, you were saying about that you weren't going to be running courses, which we now know that you're starting to do, or do camera pub talks, etc. But you are very much out there because of the popularity of your brand and your YouTube. So how do you square that with your self-confessed introverted nature?
It's an interesting question. I'll try and answer it. It's sort of difficult, really, and it's sort of self-analyzing, which is, I find it difficult in a way. I mean, when it comes to the YouTube videos, I am pretty much usually alone on location or with somebody that I know very, very well. So I can be myself in front of the camera with no problems. What you don't see is, you know, off screen, if you might also have this as well. If somebody just comes along close to where you're filming, you just stop and you wait. You wait for them to move on. Yep. And it's all, you get asked questions and you think, yeah, I'm just filming myself. So, you know, you just sort of see what I give you on camera, which comes across probably as very comfortable, and I always am very comfortable and confident on location. So I don't have any problem with being on camera and putting myself on the internet like that. In terms of engaging in the photography community, I'm very shy. I am a silent watcher on many YouTube videos, in many photography groups. I don't tend to, share my images in competitions or anything like that. I think it's really because I do photography first and foremost for myself.
Nice.
And as long as I'm feeling satisfied with what I've done, then I don't really feel the need to, put it everywhere, this sort of thing in my life. And it's difficult, I'm a very, genuinely quite introverted. Social situations throw me off balance a lot of the time. And so meeting with strangers and that sort of thing, it's something that I have to really build myself up to doing. And so this becoming a full-time job for me has really been testing my anxiety and my confidence as I'm being, thrown into presentations and the odd workshop and do podcasts. And I'm always up for a challenge and doing things that take me out of my comfort zone, because I believe it's really important for personal growth. So, I won't usually back down for these things, but it's finding a balance where I'm comfortable and enjoying it, but also staying true to myself. So it's difficult. I do photography alone a lot of the time. I find that it's very meditative. It's almost like therapy for me. When I get on location, the rest of the world just sort of drowns out, and I'm just focused on what I'm doing, enjoying it in nature. And I find that when I'm with a lot of other people on location, that I can't get in that state, and I'm just aware of this person over here or somebody's talking to me over here, and I find it a bit more difficult to relax. And so now that I'm starting up workshops, and I just went on a trip to Iceland with a group of people, it's definitely really testing me, and I'm having to try and find a balance of working with other people and also getting the images that I want. Yeah. I would love there to be just sort of one solution to it, where I could be, extroverted when I need to be extroverted. But yeah, I don't know how you all feel when you're out and about doing photography with other people. The workshops is difficult for me, and I think the main reason why I haven't been doing them, especially locally, is safety. It's making sure safety is very important, making sure that I'm safe on location. And as a woman who looks much younger than she is, putting myself in a situation with strangers, and unfortunately, the majority of landscape photographers, it's a male-dominated field. So I have to think of, that I'm putting myself in a group of men, essentially, a lot of the time. And that's something that I have to be quite aware of.
Can I follow that up slightly?
Yes.
Because I have got some male photographers that I'm friends with, and they are surprised when I talk about the safety things that I have to put in place to make sure that I'm okay. Because I don't go into woods necessarily, because I'm poor at those, but I'm in the middle of vast-ish landscapes where phone signals are gone, etc., etc., and I have about 5 steps that I will take that my male counterparts will actually say, I don't even think about that.
Yes.
Do you have, forgive me, any tips for the females out there? Just a couple of tips that might say, do this, it really makes a difference.
If I always tell somebody where I am.
Yep.
First and foremost. I have, this probably sounds extreme, but I have a little tracking device that I pop in my car and in my camera bag.
That's a good idea.
It's like the AirTag, but it's the Android version, a tile. Just in case for some reason, in case my camera bag goes missing when I travel, or if I suddenly disappear in the forest, you can sort of track where I have been. You can find that. I think it's just being really aware on location. So as I say, sometimes I'm with somebody, but a lot of the time I'm not. And it's just, I'm always aware of where I'm going, so I know how to get back safely, and who's potentially around me, who's also coming through, just being aware of what's going on around me while I'm on the location. Something that occasionally somebody will say to me, Courtney, when you're filming, can you look directly into the camera and not at the LCD screen as I'm filming? And I'm actually looking into the LCD screen to check what's going on behind me, because I might have heard a noise, and I'm just, I'm not worried, but I'm just seeing, just making sure that no one's passing by, and I'm not going to, startle them, and they're not going to startle me. So it's just being aware of, what's going on around me. I'll always make sure that if I wander off a trail, I don't wander too far, and I know how to get back. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult for somebody who is afraid of being alone out in the middle of nowhere. I'm quite comfortable being in the middle of nowhere, being in the forest. It doesn't bother me at all. The forest is not scary. I'm probably the scariest thing in there, to be honest. So that doesn't bother me. Again, this is going to sound silly, but I can take people down. I think I could take them. And I've usually got 2 tripods with me, and I feel like I could wield a lightsaber,
Spikes up in the tripod.
When I'm in a group, or if I go somewhere there's a group of people that I don't know, I will normally look for the most normal-looking male, and I will strike up a conversation with them. And I will do it, and I will make sure I say my name, and I will say my surname, which is Welcome. And the reason I do that is because I think if the Sun newspaper prints a story about a female photographer who's found somewhere, and they get my surname, somebody can then go, I remember her. She was a little bit annoying on location. Spoke to me when I wanted to be completely on my own. But it's just little things like that. Or even, because my sense of direction is poor, whenever I park up, I do a 3 words, providing I've got signal. Because you've got a direct line to wherever it is, because losing your car is not brilliant.
No, I'm lucky. I have a decent sense of direction, so I don't have to pin things all the time. I can always get myself back to a place or back to the car.
Losing your car's not the worst thing. Ask Steve about losing his car keys.
Oh yeah, and he's got a video to show it.
Yeah,
that woke you up, Stonies. That woke you up, sunshine.
So that's startled.
Yeah, well, actually,
afternoon.
Yeah, I've actually just tagged my where's my keys? I've just put a tile tag on my keys, so when I lose it up a mountain like I did last time, at least I know where they are. But what's interesting is I do workshops, and I've never even considered the female aspect of it, of being insecure with a male, if you like, because I go anywhere. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about anything. And you just expect everybody else to be the same. So it's nice to actually hear a female, what you have to think about as a female than a male, if you like, or someone who's worried about getting lost in the woods or someone coming up behind you or anything like that. And it's not, and so if I get a female client now, at least I can take that on board and try and make her more comfortable. So it's actually really nice to talk about that, to be honest. Yeah.
I think, Steve, one of the things that as a photographer, I would love males to know is, don't look. If you're there and you see us coming, just make sure your presence is known, even if it's just like, hey, just to let you know I'm over here. That's really helpful, as opposed to standing there and kind of being a little bit, it can come across as steady or a little bit of a threat, particularly if you're doing things like astro. You suddenly see a red light where someone's trying to focus or whatever it is, flashing in the dark, and you just think, come on. So just announcing yourself and letting us know that you are there is incredibly helpful, because it means no one's getting startled, and you then assess, and just, if someone feels threatened as a woman, you can choose to move on or not. Or in my case, tap the hind legs of a donkey.
Yeah, I think that advice on the astro side is for everyone, because I've not done it very often myself. But see, when we had the big aurora recently, I took myself into the middle of my local park, pitch black, and I could hear people around me, but I couldn't see them. And that was quite freaky, and it actually turned out it was a family that I knew, but I had no idea at the time. And yeah, you do get that sort of who is out here, and what they're going to do. Because okay, there's a slight difference between male and female issues. My concern is that somebody's going to steal my kit.
Yeah, $4 worth of kit on like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm totally with you, Alistair.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the images if possible?
Yeah, sure. Get back there again.
Me trying to keep us on track. I'm very good at doing this. Courtney, just do it. I'm an ex-head teacher, some bossy cow. Yeah.
I've got a question for Courtney.
Go for it, Courtney. Go on.
Yeah. Have you ever photographed the bioluminescent algae or anything like that?
I have a friend who has, along the coast, South Wales or Bridgend. Look, the photo was absolutely.
That would be good.
Yeah, would be amazing.
Right. Paul, is this the one that you wanted to have a couple of questions on, lovely? Or a question on?
Yeah, this is the one I was looking to ask a couple of things. Well, just one question, really, Courtney. And I do like the foreground of this with the log, and of course with the fungi and the the sort of receding fungi, as it were. And in the background, you've got this perfect bokeh in the background. It's great. Is this just kind of done all pretty much in camera, or is this a bit in post as well?
So yes, I had to do some retouching on this. So this was a focus bracket that I did with the D850 and the focus shift shooting. So I didn't manually stack this myself.
Yeah.
And again, probably about 30, 35 images for this to make sure I get the log underneath in focus as well. And you sort of have to get an overlap between each image.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't quite manage it with this one. And there's a lot of detail going on from the wood texture and these fraying or sort of deteriorating fungi, and I didn't quite get it right. So when I popped all the images and stacked them in, I used Helicon Focus. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of imperfections, specifically on the fungi on the right edge of it where it's hitting the log there.
Yeah.
That was very iffy. And on the left side where you've got those bits of moss coming out of the wood as well. If you actually zoom in really closely, you can see that I didn't retouch it very well because I got a bit bored towards the end of the edit, and I just sort of left bits of it.
He's doing it as well.
Really
I really do like
see it.
I mean, I really do like the shallow depth feel of this. It's just absolutely perfect, and it's everything that needs to be in focus is in focus. Yeah. I'm just wondering because it's just so clean looking and everything there.
Yes, I mean most stacks will go together.
Yeah.
Pretty well, but there's the odd one where you'll get imperfections or ghosts or artifacts. And on this one, there was a few issues with it, and so I use a graphics tablet when I edit. So in Photoshop, I did a lot of sort of cloning or masking and sort of painting bits back in that didn't quite come out very well. And it was time consuming. It took me a couple of hours to retouch it so that it looked as it does now.
Yeah, it's lovely colours in this one, and it's just the orange, the colours, everything, the detail in it. It's really nice. It's kind of one of these images that's kind of struck. When I looked at the images you sent there, this one stood out for me. And there's another image I will be talking about as well. It will come up shortly.
It's the middle fungi in there.
Little baby.
There's a little baby fungi.
I didn't notice until you blew it up, and it's just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you've gone for something.
That's just natural lighting, this one.
Yes, this is natural lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was this was during winter, so we didn't have that tree cover, and it was in quite an open bit of woodland, so the light was coming directly down on it. I didn't have any light issues with this one. But yeah, now that you've mentioned the small one in the middle, something that I am trying to be conscious of on location is make sure that I'm experimenting enough. So I took this photo and then I got home and I regretted that I didn't try and get even closer and take a photo of that one in the middle.
Yeah.
I kick myself now for not doing it on location. So it's my goal from here on to make sure that I really explore the scene as much as possible, so I can get as much from it as I can. That mushroom, they would have been gone very next day.
Yeah, it's like being nibbled into by a squirrel or something along the lines there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely shot.
It is very much so. Can we go to the next shot? Yes, it's the angle. I just think that's really a cracker because it's unusual. I remember Charlie White complimented Chris Frost. Now, Chris Frost had a winner of the Landscape Photographer of the Year, and it was a wild garlic shot that I just thought was sublime. And one of the things that he talked about was the angle of the floor, and it echoes here beautifully with the colour of the foliage. Just it's this for me rocks my world. This particular shot. Just thought I'd put it out there. So, nobody here, Paul and Daz have questions. Go for it.
Yeah. On you go, Daz.
I just love this because it's just the subject is just bang in the middle of the frame, and then that drop off of the fog and everything. My question was, did you slip going down that slope?
Probably yes.
I've taken some, not as good as this by all means, but something like this before, and I've slipped from the top to the bottom when I've tried it.
Yeah.
Yes, I probably stumbled quite a few times because I wasn't looking at the ground while I was focused on this.
But this as well, just with the separation and everything. Did it take you a while to get everything just right?
Yeah, a little bit of moving sort of side to side. I mean, when it comes to separating trees like this, millimeters can make a difference, just sort of shifting very, very slightly. I mean, some of the trees I couldn't get to be spaced apart, but because we have that fog that creates that separation, it makes the image and the scene much more simple. It just worked anyway. Yeah, I was really excited when I came across this scene. This is in the Forest of Dean, and the Forest of Dean is very high up, and so we don't actually get a lot of conditions like this. So I think last year we only had 1 or 2 days where we had thick fog like this up there. It's really quite rare. So to get this image, I was just so excited by it, and we haven't had conditions like this since, unfortunately.
Yeah, so lovely. I mean, everything you guys have talked about is pretty much what I was going to ask, and it was mainly the precarious kind of way. Your tripod will probably set up in a way where one leg's short and 2 legs long, I presume, here.
Yes.
But yeah, Dan kind of covered what I was going to say, actually. It's quite a precarious kind of hole there, but you can fall back easily. But, it's kind of like, is it kind of like a beech tree kind of forest round about the Forest of Dean? Does it look like beech trees there?
Yeah, the Forest of Dean is quite big. And you get
yeah.
a lot of different types of trees. So you have beech trees. There's a lot of pine forest and like mossy. I love the mossy areas. They're my favourite.
Yeah. What I love about beech trees is when they get saturated, they almost go black when it's in the mist. It looks great.
Yes.
And that's where when Dan's talking about everything dropping off, it works so well with the beech trees because it's the contrast with these trees. It's amazing, really nice. And of course, you've got the receding kind of. Try to think of is a beech tree. I know that, but regards to I always kind of people tend to think it's like the last of the autumn, but it's not. These trees will hold on to their leaves right through almost winter. You'll see like these kind of leaves on the trees, on the beech trees, and it's like the clinginess of like past kind of seasons still there. It's amazing, and it's just like everything else is around is pretty much bald and open and canopies open. But yeah, I presume it was in the winter. I presume, yeah.
Yeah, end of autumn, beginning of winter.
Yeah.
It's
real nice.
And as I was walking through this bit of forest, it just stood out to me instantly. And I've actually gone past this tree quite a few times since in different seasons, and it stands out to me every single time now. I can just instantly go and find that tree and pinpoint it.
Yeah. And the thing is, when we actually get to like May and June, everything's lush and green and beautiful, and then that kind of notion dies away. We want like this kind of scene, don't we?
Yes.
But this is what this has got. I love it. It's a really nice shot. Yeah.
Nice. Let's pop the next one up. Now, just so you're aware, we have Alistair and Darren that would like to ask questions on this. Let's go with Darren first of all.
Oh, mine was how do you, obviously this is that small. How do you see the framing of this? Because the framing on this image is just fantastic. Just with the, the ferns just coming. Well, it won't be ferns, it'll be moss, won't it? Coming round.
Yeah. You have to get on the floor. You have to be on the floor. You have to be getting just as close as you can. I've had to learn to deal with spiders. I really don't enjoy spiders, and I like that eye level perspective. I think it really just brings you into the scene, and yeah, it's very interesting. It just really immerses you into the scene and into the nature. Really, it's sort of like the viewpoint of the fungi. And so you have to get on the floor. And so yeah, I've learned to deal with spiders because a spider will crawl on you. I don't tend to get them on my mushrooms, but they will get on me, which I don't particularly enjoy. So yeah, as I said, I've sort of developed a sense of being able to sort of spot them. And what stands out to me is colour. So if I'm just looking down at the ground, I'll spot the colour of it first. Like, okay, that's something. And then I crouch down and I take a good look at it. So this one, luckily, I didn't move it. And I just got low. And it's important to explore as many angles and perspectives as you can as you're pre-visualizing image ideas. And so, I went from this one side and I was like, oh, it's like it's hiding in all this moss. It's framing it really, really beautifully. So it just then made absolute sense to go for that.
Yeah, you mentioned eyes on it as well. It does actually look like there's a pair of eyes on this looking at you, the two black dots.
No, you see that, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it. Yeah,
Alistair.
I was going to say pretty much the same thing. It's how on earth do you spot these? But you've explained that. So the next bit is I presume this is natural light in this one. You haven't used any bouncing or lights on this one.
Yeah, this is natural light.
Natural light, yeah.
I think yes.
And have you angled the camera to make it a little bit more dramatic, or was it actually growing like that? Is it ground or is it on a log?
I see it was just popping out of the moss. I don't think it was on anything. It was angled, and I did tilt my camera up very, very slightly.
Yeah.
Upright, yeah. Okay. It's just getting ideas because this is the stuff I said I love doing, and I want to do a lot more of it through the summer and into the autumn. Obviously, autumn if it's going to be mushrooms. Just want to get as many tips as possible because that is just lovely.
It's just experimenting. Pop the camera. I use a tripod because, as I said, I'm terrible handheld, and that way on the tripod I can slow down and I can fiddle and get the composition as until I'm satisfied with it. And it's just sort of tilting and moving and shifting a little bit and a little bit again until I think, okay, yeah, that looks great. It's just taking the time to slow down and experiment, really.
Yeah, my biggest problem when I'm taking my biggest problem when I'm doing fungi like this is my 50-kilogram dog who likes to get in front of the camera all the time.
Right.
So I've got to make sure he's out the way when I'm doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to ask you, when you're lying down, do you have a lie down mat? You must just to kind of keep yourself dry, or do you just go with the mess that comes with it?
I just go with the mess that comes with it. I do have my reflector is usually in my bag when I go out and do shoots like this, and there are times where I will sit on it instead of sitting directly on the ground. If I haven't got waterproof trousers on, I'm learning to put my waterproof trousers on so that I don't get damp and muddy. But honestly, I just sort of embrace it, and I think it is what it is. I'll dry off when I get home. And I'm not afraid of mud or wet weather. So
Nice. Thank you. Right, we're going to go to our penultimate one now, if we may. And Paul and Darren. This, you see, for me, I'm just, whilst he's getting this up, I have to say, I never see scenes like this. And if I do, I'd walk behind a scope and do anything with that. And you have. So, Paul, crack on, lovely.
Yeah, one of the things is it's quite a complex scene. It's quite hard to, try to separate the trees there, which I'm guessing they're pine. I'm not 100% sure. I think they're pine. And yeah, just with regards to the composition, I can see what you're going for with the rooted tree. It's been uprooted with the wind, whatever, and you can actually see like a line kind of going through there almost, and it's kind of separating. It's like the eyes kind of drawn, and especially when you've got the vignette, it's kind of just putting you right to that trunk. What was it actually? Getting you actually sizing that composition up. What was your focal point? And I'm guessing it's obviously the roots of this tree that's up over. What was your
Yes,
focal point?
it was the roots of the tree.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
the focal point. So the idea behind this image, and a lot of people don't see this when I explain it, which makes me feel silly, but it's sort of like the three cycles of a tree.
yeah.
So on the left-hand side there, you've got a few trees that are standing nice and tall and healthy. Then you've got the one that's leaning. And then in the bottom right, you've got one that's been cut down. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
been
yeah.
gone for a while.
You've
So
just answered my question.
Right.
There we go. Hey.
So essentially everything was placed fairly intentionally in the scene. And trying to get as much separation between the trees as possible. It was
Yes.
difficult because there is so much going on, especially in the background. And in saying that, this image, I love it, but it bothers me.
And
Because
what
that
way?
one tree closest to the camera, you can just
Yeah.
see another tree behind it poking out to the left
Yeah.
and below.
Yeah.
Oh,
And since I've noticed that, it irritates me so much. And it's such a small thing. And so I need to go back at some point, and I need to know whether that was something that on location I said to myself, I can't get rid of that, that's fine. Or if I
Yeah.
missed it on location.
Yeah, I mean, it's something when actually looking at the vignette of the actual image, you're actually just directed straight to the focal point in this one. That's really nice. And I know how difficult it is to shoot in these kind of sort of like uniform woodlands. So you've got pine trees that are all pretty much all straight, and you're trying to separate them. So I can understand the frustration is trying to line things up, etc.
Yeah.
But there's so much interest in the shot, especially in the background there. Of course, you've got in the backdrop another fallen tree, and there's so much going on with the moss going over, like, of course, the remnants of the old trees, etc. as well. It's really quite a fascinating image. I really like it.
so Darren, has she completely answered your question now?
Yes.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw this image, I just thought it's like the three stage.
Yeah.
The life standing up. You've got
Yeah.
the lean on me tree as if it's elderly. Then you've got the cut trunks that have all been covered in the green moss. And also the roots in the fallen tree in the background. But it's just nicely framed triangle. That's just great, is that?
Yeah, there's a
It
triangle.
really
Yeah.
is. It's a lovely.
So glad somebody else saw it then.
Yeah. But yeah, to me, I think if you're trying to move over a touch and get rid of that tree, the four on the left-hand side, you might sort of encroach on them a bit. But yeah, I just love it as it is. It really is. It's a cracking image is this. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, light as well. You've got can't underestimate the light, especially on the left hand side with the light just kissing at the back there. In the
What
foreground.
sort of time of day was this?
This was mid-afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Oh, winterish maybe because it's quite low light.
No, I actually can't. No, I think it was spring around this.
Okay.
I took this photo off the top of my head. And an overcast day with a tiny bit of light coming through. But the light that you've got coming from the back there is a bit of a clearing. Where you've got some light coming through.
Arguably the best time for woodland, isn't it? When it's kind of that kind of soft box kind of look when you've got like
And what I did in post was to subtly exaggerate the light coming through, and then the vignette of the rest of the forest being a bit darker.
Yeah, that's nice.
Works very well. And I walked past and just gone, tree.
I think in areas like this where it is very chaotic and there's so much going on, everything can look the same. It's just finding those small scenes that stand out in some way, and it's not easy. I mean, I probably walked around for hours before I spotted this. So it's just
Yeah, this
Sorry, Alistair.
Sorry, I was going to say this afternoon I was out with my camera and in Woodlands and kind of doing what you're saying. It's looking for the things that are the odd ones out. I mean, you get lots of trees standing, but it's the ones that are down there more interesting because the shapes that they do, the way they point to certain scenes, the way they're covered by the moss. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely. I mean, trees go through a lot when you think about it. You know, human interaction, storms, and so yeah, it's really they have a lot of stories and characters.
We have actually admitted. Sorry, Dan. We have admitted on this webcast before that a few of us have actually hugged trees when we've been out doing the photography. Just to let you know where we are with the trees.
Speak for yourself.
Darren, did you want to say something?
Yeah, what I would ask, what is your go-to lens when you do your woodland photography? What focal length do you find fits best?
I take a 24 to 120 with me. That it's technically a kit lens, I think, for my DSLR setup. There's nothing wrong with it. It's very versatile, and especially when I'm scouting, it just means I can play with wide focal lengths and zoom in a bit, crop in a bit. Something that I would like to do is take a telephoto lens out into the forest and do more work with that.
Yeah, I tend to do a lot of mine with the 70-200.
I was going to say that, me too.
Yeah.
But I do have a 24 to 120, as Courtney says, as well. So I've got the same kind of focal length that you use.
Well, I'm a Canon girl. And I'm the only person here that's a Canon person, I think.
You're not, are you?
I think so.
I thought. I keep thinking Darren's a Canon because he always slags off Nikon all the time. You know, these people, these Canon guys. I don't know.
I'm like in the minority here. May we go to this ultimate image, please? And this is more to my heart because I love wild garlic. I've got a thing about two things: barley. As these guys will know when I send the next slow motion video at 4:45 this morning. Sorry, chaps, of me in Bali.
And here it says now.
No, it's not. And I'm pretty obsessed by wild garlic. I get stressed out by having with bluebells. Can't do them. Just ridiculous. This is my zen. It's gorgeous, and I love the fern in the front. And just the softness in the background here. I'm not giving you a question on this. We have no one's put their name down.
I'm happy to talk about it as well, though.
Go on, Alistair.
Well, following on from Louise, because Louise put a lovely video up about wild garlic. I said to her, we don't get that up here, that expanse of wild garlic. And then I found a little place and went down and took my own photographs with not unsimilar to this, with a path with some garlic to the side. But I just watched your video and I've never seen so much wild garlic. It was like a snow scene going into the distance, then up the hill, and it was just unbelievable. And where do you start when you've got a scene like that? You started photographing the flowers in front of you, which had so many to look at. Was it just overwhelming?
Oh yeah, very overwhelming. Yeah, and it's just taking the time, just want to calm down, but to just experiment and sort of frame up this little scene here, frame up this scene here, and just see what catches my eye, what I feel really excited about image-wise. I mean, for this scene here, it was a narrow pathway, and I really couldn't move anywhere else but down this pathway. And where I'm stood, there's no garlic there at all. There was like this tiny little box in the middle of it all that was just nothing. It was just soil. So that's where I stood for this photo. So I really couldn't move around a lot and get crazy with compositions or anything. It had to be as simple as possible, really, which made it easier for me in a way. But when you've just got, a carpet, a field of wild garlic and it's all around you, it's very overwhelming.
The elements have really fallen in your favour here because of that, having that fern, as Louise pointed out. But that what I thought initially was a branch coming in from the top right, but it's a tree. It's a fallen tree because you can see it disappearing in behind other trees there. Is that what it is, or is it just a huge branch?
It's a huge branch that had come down slightly, so it wasn't quite attached to the
Right.
tree. Yes.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
It's a
about
nice
the
training
shots.
element.
Yeah.
I also said
Well,
elephant, and I've got elephants on the brain.
Yeah, what I like about the shot, Courtney, as well, is like all the elements are there for the perfect composition. You've got a leading path, you've got the ferns pointing to the path, you've got the log. I think it's almost like a branch or like a sawn off tree there. It's pointing towards the path again. And as Alistair says, you've got the branches coming across there, just framing, taking you away from your eye, moving up the image. It's really nice. It's just it's something I never get much to photograph. As Alistair says, not much of that not in Scotland, but there is places in remote places, but you can go to. It's far and few between where I stay to get to places like that.
Yeah.
Lovely shot.
It's taken me a couple of years to find locations that are abundant in a area.
Yeah.
And they're actually quite small locations. Apart from the video that just came out, it's absolutely everywhere, which is amazing. But generally, the locations around here that have a lot of wildlife, like the very small locations that sort of tucked away. So it's taken quite a lot of exploring to find these little pockets of spring.
Yeah.
And this year, for the first time, it's quite often interspersed with the bluebells. As long as there's a bit of a window in between. This year, it's all been crammed into one, which makes for a frantic kind of couple of weeks for photographers, really.
Yes, yeah. I decided to focus on the garlic this year because I'm in the same boat with bluebells with you as well. They're absolutely beautiful. And again, over the past couple of years, I've scouted a few locations where there's a huge amount of bluebells. But when it gets to actually photographing them, I struggle.
Yeah.
You go in with these ideas of getting all these incredible bluebell shots. What comes to mind is the photographers down in Dorset. They go to the New Forest. The images they get from there are absolutely incredible. They're so beautiful. And
yes, but Dorset in his own right has got the kind of those wonderful kind of woodlands. I'm just thinking, for example, Hook, etc. But again, you could. I just think sometimes you could take me to the most gorgeous place in the world, and I'd still manage to come for bluebells. Just would happen.
When you're doing your YouTube, does it get in the way of your actual photography, or do you think it actually helps your photography?
I think both. It's like swings and roundabouts. Sometimes I think that I would take more images if I didn't have my filming set up and I wasn't filming, which I think is true because of the filming process takes so long. So I definitely could be taking more images on location if I wasn't filming. But at the same time, filming, because it slows me down on location, and because I am putting it out to the internet, the world, I think about it more. I slow down. I'm really mindful about what it is that I'm doing, my composition. So I think in that way it helps me quite a bit. And also I find, whether you find this as well, sometimes framing up B-roll shots, I'll see an image through my filming camera.
Yeah, all the time. The amount of
which is really great.
I've actually travelled back to Wales just looking at a B-roll on a video. I've had to travel all the way back to Wales, a 4-hour trip, just to get a shot of a tree. Just by watching B-roll.
And that's the problem, Steve. If you're watching it back at home, the number of times you go, why did I not see that shot? And if it's fairly local, you're okay. But yes, it's a shame in a way. What we should do is kind of review our B-roll in the field, because then we'd actually I've got to go back now.
I didn't do any of that today. I just went straight POV for the first time ever. So I don't even know what that's going to come out like, if anything.
Did you enjoy it though, Darren?
It was absolutely rammed. That's why I went POV. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
And that's
I must say, Louise,
see it on the video.
Possibly.
Nice. Go on, Steve.
I've had the most fantastic weekend down Dorset, and I'll be going back down there again. I've got some absolutely banging images. Well, I think they are anyway. So I'm so happy, and that's probably why I'm so tired, because I've been full on for 36 hours. So yeah, thanks for the tip off as well.
I very much.
That place was phenomenal.
You are welcome, my love.
And you are
Or
welcome.
Pritchell, or see what you did there. Right. Now, Courtney, has anybody else got a question for Courtney? Because I'm going
to ask Courtney probably an embarrassing question. Do you feel or do you see yourself as an influencer?
No.
Because do you recognize this lens? It's the Sigma 70.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you used that lens, didn't you?
I did. That was
yeah. And I'm one of these terrible people that see things on YouTube and go, she's getting really good images with that. I've got to get that lens. So I went on to MPB, sponsor me if you'd like.
Works. Well done, Courtney. Let them know.
Bought the lens, and your very next video, you were out with a Lawa, or however you pronounce it. I was like, I'm not buying that one.
Good lens, though.
Yeah.
I don't count myself as an influencer, but at the same time, it does baffle me a little bit. And I get surprised by it, that people will message me or email me and say, I saw you use this bit of kit, and then I bought it because I like what you did with it. Like, great. Like,
it's
good for you.
in a way, and it's a bad thing. It's the way. So I've got this echo in my head as well. Sorry. It's like people saying to a good photographer, "Oh, you must have good camera."
Yeah.
And it's terrible. We fall for it ourselves, going, oh, "She's getting awesome pictures with that lens. I've got to get it." And it's not necessarily the lens; it's the photographer.
Right. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. Because mine are shit.
Oh, don't edit that out. Don't edit it out. You can get cancelled on YouTube. It's
How many lenses have you got, Courtney? Do you have a half-year collection?
I have 2 macro lenses. One was gifted to me, which I'm always very, very transparent when I'm given things. I don't take things for free often. So I have 2 macro lenses. One is 2 times magnification, and one is just 1 times the standard 105mm. I have my 25 to 120 kit lens, a 60 to 35, and a 100 to 400 telephoto.
That's my lens.
And that's it.
I saw you with 14 to 28 f2.8 in Iceland.
Yes, I borrowed that.
Oh, right.
Yes.
It's a nice lens.
Yeah, because I've considered adding the 14mm to my camera bag, which I'm not sure if I'll do, but so yeah.
Well, you always get a good deal.
How did you find Iceland, Courtney?
Iceland was great. It was very interesting. My first thought when we got there and we sort of started driving down the south coast was, where are the trees? And I felt really disappointed, and it just threw me out completely that there were no trees. And the trees I did see, you can't get lost in them because they're about waist high, you know. But the landscape is very interesting, and it's flat for long periods of time, and then you just have huge mountains. It's absolutely incredible, and the weather. Oh gosh, the weather changes so much. We were driving, and it was sunny, clear skies, absolutely lovely, and then 20 minutes later it was full on snow and blizzard weather. So it was, it was very interesting. And I'm hoping, I'd like to go back, maybe in the summer, to see the country when it's big.
The Highlands in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bigger than you think as well.
Yes. Yes. I mean, we went down towards Vestermore.
Yeah.
And it took about, I think, 5 hours to drive down the coast to get there. and it was worth it. Absolutely incredible views. Lost the microphone there, but don't care.
Right, before we go to our last question, which I'm going to ask her, anybody got any more questions you'd like to ask before we kind of wrap up?
I know, it's very silent here.
I have.
Crikey. Go for it, Stady. He's getting a second wind now.
Yeah, I'm awake now. I just wanted to know more about your workshops and where you get that, where the information is. Is it one-to-one workshops? Is it group workshops you're running? Is it just Woodland workshops? So a bit more information on your workshops, really.
Yes, they are group workshops, and so up to 6 to 8 people.
Boys, we're in, boys.
And, so at the moment I've got a few dates in, or most of November, for 15 fungi workshops. So I'll be, the aim of that is to learn how to find fungi and photograph them. So, we will go into lighting and focus bracketing for that, which I'm really excited about, just to nerd out for a whole month with people. It's going to be fantastic. And also a few waterfall composition workshops in South Wales, in Brecon Beacons, which also I love those locations. Oh, they're so beautiful. So
I may have gone there on the back of something that a video you did, and all beginning with H that I can't remember of. That's my little splotch video chat. I just love that one, and that's your fault. It's on your website as well. So yes, you are an influencer, whether you like it or not, lady. But you contact Visit Wales and get another sponsorship going. Other than that, right. So, chaps, my last question is this: if you got dumped on an island somewhere, humour me with this, and you could only photograph one element for the rest of your time behind the lens, what would it be? Waterfalls, woodland floors, seascapes. I'm guessing it's not that. What would it be? One element only for the rest of your time that really floats your boat.
Does the woodland have fungi?
For you, lady, we'll make sure it has a lot.
We're changing the goalposts a bit
now. There's fungi, I'm in.
Okay. Well, in which case, Alistair's going to be shortly on your tail, I suspect.
In a non-cringy way, of course.
Yeah, absolutely announced beforehand. He's picked this up big time. Well, if there is any more questions on the floor, Paul, you look like you're pensive there, my lovely.
Pretty much we've covered quite a lot during this podcast. And then, of course, in regards to your socials, I know you're on Instagram and all these usual suspect things. I mean, your website, we kind of talked about your workshops. Is it what's coming up for yourself? Is anything coming up in the horizon in regards to places to visit or anything new, exciting coming up?
In terms of my photography, I am pretty local these days. And I think that's going to be, so much to photograph, have so much fun with it. So that's the goal. I am going up to the Lake District for the first time, July.
Oh, you'll love it.
In the summer?
Love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
In the summer?
Busy.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. So I'm looking forward to that. But otherwise, in terms of events, this month I'm at the Wales and West show in Newport, which is running for 3 days. I think the 20th to the 22nd. Yeah.
In which case, it just amazes me to say, Courtney, thank you so much for tonight. I think we've probed you a little bit for wisdom, as well as assured you are an influencer, whether or not you like it. And despite the fact that you're an introvert, it's been absolutely cracking having you on with this tonight. Thank you so much for coming on, and if we ever have the chance to see you again in a year or so's time, I very much hope I get to beat you.
Go find us on this podcast.
Very much hope I get to beat
You've been on this tonight, Louise.
I very much hope that we get to meet you again in the future. And if anyone is out there and sees Courtney in the field, announce your presence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Courtney. It's
Unless
been great.
it's Louise, run away because she'll beat you.
Yeah, thank you, Courtney. And guys, just want to say thank you for Louise for hosting tonight. Well, she's done an absolute blinder job, so well done to Louise as well. So, yeah.
Thanks, Louise.